I'm not a school teacher, but I believe I know exactly what they're thinking right now. As we begin another school year after the short summer, I can't believe that the summers are so short for these kids now. When I was going to school, we got out of school about the 1st or so of June, and then we went back after Labor Day. And now the kids are out at the end of May, and they start back the 1st of June. It's amazing. Teachers are thinking and hoping that the kids have retained a whole lot of what they learned in the previous grade. Because if they have retained what they learned the previous year, that means the teacher can start out right away with her lesson plans and what they hope to learn for that year. If they haven't retained a whole lot of what they learned the year before, that means that teacher has to do a whole lot of review to bring them up to snuff before they can start teaching that year's materials. Well, pastors are a lot the same way. Pastor Burkholz and I work really hard on our sermons, and we hope that when you leave here, you retain at least a little bit of what we told you. And so what we're going to do as we begin another year of ministry here at Holy Trinity, we're going to have a kind of like a review test. For the last several weeks, we've been in the first letter of John. And in the first letter of John, we have stated, each of us, at the beginning of our sermons, the reason that particular letter was written. It is one little line in the first chapter of 1 John. And we said it each week. And so, let us see what your retention is like for just 4 weeks rather than a whole summer. I will start out the word, and you will finish this sentence as to what the purpose of 1 John was. We are writing these words to you so that what? Your joy may be full or complete. Very, very, very good. Out of 200,000 people who come to worship here every week, how old are you? I'm asking you a question, Gertrude. How old are you? Huh? One 11-year-old remembered. I hate to say this to you, but every one of you are going back to the 4th grade. The reason 1 John was written, like she said, was so that our joy might be complete. And it is Pastor Burkholz's goal and my goal every week to make sure that we live up to that promise, that your joy is made complete. That when you leave here after the worship service, you leave with a smile on your face, knowing that through faith in Jesus Christ, a place in the kingdom of heaven for you has been secured. And not only that, you know what you're supposed to do as disciples of Christ. Well, each and every day when we go out into the world, there are things that challenge this joy that God gives. And right now, we're going to list a few of those things that try to take that joy away from us, that try to make us turn our eyes away from our hope in Jesus Christ to lament over one issue or another that challenges us out in the world. So, there are no right or wrong answers. So, what are some things that stand in the way of our joy that we confront when we go out of these doors, out into the real world? Traffic. No joke. Every morning when I'm sitting in my nice chair having my cup of coffee and the traffic report comes on, I am so thankful that I don't have to get into that traffic each and every day. Well, God didn't want me to miss that opportunity. So this week, You know I served on jury duty for Cobb County in July, right? Had a whole week down there. Well, Ginger goes to the mailbox this week and she says, Ron, you get a surprise in the mail. I said, what? I thought maybe it was a rebate check or something. And she said, you've been called to be a juror at federal court in downtown Atlanta for 2 weeks. So I get to experience what you all experience each and every morning and night for 2 weeks. Now, we have an FBI agent in this church, and we have a U.S. trustee. I asked both of them. I said, is there any way you can get me out of this? And they said, absolutely not. But on the form, there are reasons for excuses. Number 7 says mental incapacity. Anybody that goes into the ministry is mentally challenged. So I'm going to try that one. What else stands in the way of our joy each and every day that can just sap it away from us? Illness. Hearing that we are not doing as good as we thought we were. Or maybe there's some kind of illness that's going to require some kind of treatment. So we begin to worry and lament over that. What else? Anything else? Money. Somebody said this morning the loss of employment. Or whether or not we're going to make ends meet. Those things are all very important challenges to our faith in Jesus Christ. I'd like to mention one more that takes away joy sometimes on a regular basis. In-laws. You know as well as I do that in-laws can mess up a perfectly good vacation. In-laws can mess up a perfectly good Christmas celebration or Thanksgiving. Because when our kids grow up and get married, they bring with them their personalities, their dynamics, and so forth. And you have to agree that not all in-laws are all that easy to get along with. So in-laws can indeed be a challenge to our faith and to our joy. When my son started dating, I started praying. I said to the Lord, Lord, I know it's a good thing for Aaron to find a girl that he loves and that he can marry and have a long and happy life with. But what's more important is that I want him to marry somebody I can get along with. And I was praying and praying and praying that he would find such a daughter-in-law to marry. Well, after they got their first home and they were getting ready to move, had moved in and they were married and living in their first house, and we had not been there. He invited us up for the weekend. Well, about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, he called and said, we're both going to be home late, but there's a key outside the door. Make yourself at home. I said, yes! Because one of the things I prayed for was that he would marry someone that was a neat freak like his parents. So this would give me an opportunity for inspection. So what I did, I got there at 2 o'clock and I walked to the door with the key, hoping and praying that things would be okay. Hoping and praying that I wouldn't find clothes all over the floor. Unmade beds, dishes in the sink, clutter everywhere. I was hoping and praying, oh Lord, that she would be as neat as the man that she married. Because Aaron, if you wouldn't believe how neat that young man is. He had no choice. I said, you either need Aaron or you just go live with someone else. I didn't say that. But anyway, I opened the door and I breathed a sigh of relief. It looked like a Marine base. Everything was straight. Everything was in order. There wasn't any dishes in the sink. All the beds were made up. And I said, Ginger, I need to use the restroom. She said, well, our restroom is right down here. I said, this one's closer. It was their restroom. So I said I wanted one more look at the house before I gave up my inspection. So I went in there, used the restroom. It was perfect. And on the way out, I happened to pass by the closet. Well, the door was cracked open. And I know Aaron didn't mean to leave that door cracked open, or either he wanted me to look in. I looked in there, and every shoe was in perfect order. Every hanging clothes was just perfect. And I said, Lord, I know it's good that Aaron loves his wife and all, but what's more important is that she's very, very neat. So I am blessed. I have a wonderful daughter-in-law. But what we're talking about today is a perfect daughter-in-law. In the book of Ruth, we have Ruth, who is awesome as a daughter-in-law. She is so awesome that the title of my sermon today is Unbelievable. Think about it. Naomi and her husband go into Moab. They take with them their 2 sons. While they're there, the 2 sons, they get married. And as tragedy would have it, Naomi's husband dies. And on top of that, both of her sons die who were married to Moabite women. So there they were, the Moabite wives and Ruth and Naomi, all in a dire situation. Because it is indeed a tragedy if a woman in Judaic history is left without a husband. And so that person is unemployed, that person can't own land, that person is in a dire situation. And so she tells her daughter-in-laws, she says, y'all go your own way. I've got no way to take care of you. Go back to Moab, find yourselves husbands, get remarried, and live the best you can with these new husbands. But Orpah, she went, but Ruth said, no, I'm going to stay with you. And what is unbelievable about this is the compassion that Ruth had for Naomi. She says, no matter what you're going to go through when you go back to Judah, I'm going to go with you and be there with you and for you. And so this is the kind of unbelievability we have in this book of Ruth, is an unbelievable daughter-in-law who has compassion that it would be great if we all had for other people. So what we've learned from chapter 1, is that Ruth is just full of compassion for the situation that her mother-in-law is in, and gives up everything to follow her and do for her the best she can. So I'm going to leave you there. You know, on these TV series, you'll watch one episode and then at the end they'll tell you a little bit about what's going to happen in the future. My job was to deal with chapter 1. And in chapter 1, we see that Ruth has unbelievable compassion for her mother-in-law. And when Naomi gets back to Judah, she says, don't call me blessed anymore. Call me Mara, which means cursed by God. What you don't know, and what Naomi doesn't know at this point, is how blessed she really is. And Pastor Burkholz is going to deal with that next week. And then we go to commercial.